Imagine everything you touch turns into gold. Like everything you do as a business owner is like times 10 multiplied.
Let's start from the most important question, which is what is that motivates you in life? Why do you get up from bed every single day?
Wow, that's a good one.
Let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, what business you're running, and like what kind of problems you are solving to your customers.
Come from like design background where I studied design, then I specialized in branding. I've now partnered up with someone, so I've co-founded Sprint Dev.
What are you struggling with at the moment?
Oh man, how long do you have?
What do you mean by B2B is a long cycle? Like tell me about your experiences so far.
In comparison, in relative to B2C, it's like just you have more decision makers, you have to go through the champion, then he or she has to then go up, and then that person has to go up and across, and you have to get budget approved, and then they have to look at the contract, and then that's not happy, and then they have to go up and down, and there's like 6 months of like back and forth, right?
For one contract.
Yeah, for one
sale.
contract, exactly. And that could all just be to get in front of the right person, and then they could still say, this is not what we're looking for at this moment, you know? So it's like, founders is a lonely, it's not lonely, but it's like, it's not a popular path that many people do. So like, as a founder, you might go through like 6 months and no one will really ever ask you, hey, what's happening? You know?
Thank you very much for joining me today. Let's start from the most important question, which is what you're struggling with at the moment.
Oh man, how long do you have?
Well, half an hour.
Okay. Struggling at the moment, man. It's a few things, I guess. Yeah, right now I've sort of transitioned to zoom out a bit. I've refined our offer to like a lot more niche, higher paying ticket clients. So we're going for like Series A clients. So that requires like, more specialized outreach, a lot more tailored approach. So it's sort of basically just getting those sort of clients through the door, changing the way we approach them. Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle at the moment. Yeah, I think it's not a big hurdle. It's like doing everything correctly. It's just a matter of time.
Well, yeah, it's a different customer type, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we have everything we need to get them. It just takes long, right? You know, the B2B cycle is like, it just takes a long time. So,
what do you mean by B2B is a long cycle? Like tell me about your experiences so far.
In comparison, in relative to B2C, it's like just you have more decision makers, you have to go through the champion, then he or she has to then go up, and then that person has to go up and across, and you have to get budget approved, and then they have to look at the contract, and then that's not happy, and then they have to go up and down, and there's like 6 months of like back and forth, right?
For one contract.
Yeah, for one
sale.
Contract, exactly. And that could all just be to get in front of the right person, and then they could still say, this is not what we're looking for at this moment, you know? So it's like, it's a mental shift, like just factoring that in, like, okay, the pipeline is not just, here's product, get it out there. It's not like a $900 course where you just sell it and you move on. Like we do really high quality services, right, for B2B businesses. Yeah.
And usually it's difficult to get to those people who are at the top because they're at the
so
top.
Busy. Exactly, man, exactly. So yeah, don't hate the play, don't hate the game. It's like, that's the name of the game, you know?
Yeah, and you just need to know how to play it, right?
Yeah. Okay, well then to answer your question more succinctly, sales. That's the biggest hurdle.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, what business you're running, and like what kind of problems you are solving to your customers.
I'll give you the full background. So I've come from like design background where I studied design, then I specialized in branding, then I did freelance branding, and then last year I went by myself to start my own agency. It never got to the point where it was like a full agency. It was just myself with a few like contractors and freelancers. I never had a full-time team, but I just wanted to take that step past freelancing, right? So I didn't want my face to be the logo. I didn't want to just sell my time. I wanted to build an agency where eventually have a separate entity, have systems behind it, have a brand, right? I've now partnered up with someone, so I've co-founded Sprint Dev. And Sprint Dev is short for Sprint Department. Same services, still branding, but it's just a little bit refined in terms of how it's been productized. So it's no longer like, we call it the traditional agency model where people come in and they just say, oh, can I get a business card? Can I get a letterhead? Can I get a website? Can I get a logo? Can I get this and that? And by the time you look back, you're just servicing so many different things and you haven't really been able to build systems around that. You can't specialize really, because you're just sort of servicing whatever anyone wants, right? So now we've productized that, and now we strictly do 10-day sprints.
If you won't manage to finish everything in 10 days, or
Yeah,
like
so
if I need some, improvements to what you guys done, how that process looks like then?
yeah, so we do have like post and pre-sprint services where we can have consulting, we
Okay.
can help you afterwards, but like the core offer is our sprint. So we have brand focus, brand push, and a brand new. So those are three different sprints, right?
Okay.
Based on where you're at. We just come in 10 days at a really high level. And it's this idea of like compressing time. Like when you compress time, you almost make decisions better. Like if you're not breaking things fast enough, you're not moving fast enough, right? So we come in, that's why the name was built Sprint Department, Sprint Depth. So we believe our like tagline, every business needs a sprint department.
What if I don't like it?
You probably will. I mean, obviously you might not, but on day one, we have this thing called the director workshop. So it's a 3-hour workshop where, for example, if you're a client, we'll get on a workshop with you, any decision makers. And for 3 hours, we've built our own process. So our own unique IP. We've got about 8 different exercises we do, and it's built to get up close and personal with your brand and your business. We ask you loads of questions. We do a bunch of exercises. So at the end of that, we know exactly like, you've almost told us what you want.
Okay.
And then it's a matter of us just executing that. And we're pretty confident we execute that pretty well most of the time.
If you can tell me the story of how did you start that business and why? Where was that first thought where you were like, I'll open the agency?
End of last year, I got a lead on my desk and I thought, okay, this is a big project, like I mentioned earlier. And I almost built my team in the moment. So I was like, okay, I want to get a really good guy with brand strategy, a really good guy with brand, and a really good guy with website. And then I almost assembled this team to bid and win for this project, right? And similar as I mentioned, it was like, man, it just took forever. And even them on their side, like I think we were speaking to like the VP of strategy or something and ops or something. Even she took about 5-6 weeks of her own time going through like this. She had to interview probably 5 different agencies, like all of this stuff. And it just took forever, man. Whereas I think, and all they wanted was an idea. Like some companies don't want to build an entire rebrand. So imagine these big companies, to do a full rebrand is extremely expensive. And it's like to do a structural rechange is quite disruptive. You just want to get a taster of what your brand could be. You almost just want to sprint a few ideas, build a quick hypothesis. Imagine you've got this concept after 10 days, and then you can really start to test it, you can implement it, you can then deploy it, you can then expand on it if you want. But at least in 10 days, instead of doing 10 days of paperwork, you could have something substantial in front of you, right? Yeah. So then we thought, like, this process is extremely long. And also, obviously, for us, we just don't have the resources. Like, we can't build 15, we can't play the same game a 50-employee agency plays. So it's one of those like underdog stories, like, okay, what can we do really good?
Is this your first business, by the way?
So Sprint Depth, I'd call, is my second, maybe third. I'd call it third.
Okay.
Yeah. I had another one previously before 3x3 was the branding agency. And I had one before that where I was doing like social media and like sports content. Okay. But that was even, the reason why I say half is because in hindsight, my business brain was like not even, but I did try something.
So what was your biggest problem ever while running the business?
Like doing a lot of shiny looking work, but actually not going anywhere with it. Like if I look back to that first business of mine, I was just basically doing anything that took me down the path of least resistance, right? It was like, I do like 10 different things a day, but if at the end of the year, you'd still have no progress. So I think it's just about focusing on something, one particular thing, which in this case, I've now really lasered that focus in. So 10-day sprints, that's it.
I made the same mistake even now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm jumping from this and I'm like, no, Michael, you need to focus on one thing, finish one thing, release your brain space, and then you can move to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because the reason why I even say 2.5 businesses is because that first business, I was doing so many different things.
How do you envision your company going, like, next 3, 5, 10 years? Are you going to sell it? Do you want to grow it? Like, do you have any plans for it?
I'd say I don't want to sell it at least for 10 years. Like, I'm really good at branding. I really love branding. I really find it meaningful to change businesses' trajectories, change businesses with branding. So I want to still, if I see myself 10 years from now, still be doing branding, but that'll obviously be at a higher level where I'll have a team below me that I can execute better work quicker with more leverage, right? So I'll just have the ideas and then my team will help me deliver that.
What is that motivates you in life? Why do you get up from bed every single day? Like, what drives you?
Wow, that's a good one. I think the first thing that comes to my head is like, I've been doing this for two and a half years. Like I've come so far, like I need to prove to myself that I am the person that can do this. So like if I had to stop now, I'd be like, you never really did it. You kind of failed. You kind of said you're going to do these things and you thought you're that person, but you actually didn't do you didn't actually do it, right? So it's like, I've got to that point now where I've come so far. I'm like, I am the guy that can do this, man. So like, are you going to just be the guy who talks about it or are you going to actually do it? You know?
Good one. Yeah. I think a lot of founders have that kind of, devil in their head.
Yeah, and it's like,
them.
Yeah, sorry. It's like, I've picked up a few battle wounds and scars where it's like, you're almost at that point where you're like, none of that stuff works. Just do what works and just get it done. Like, just make it happen, man. Don't talk about it. Don't do the stuff that think you're doing it. Just actually prove to yourself that you can do it.
If you could ask someone for help in anything, what would you ask for?
You know that concept of like teach someone to fish as opposed to giving them the fish?
Yeah.
But if I could ask someone, I'd say like, if they could refer any like businesses that need branding, that would be great. But that's going to just, solve a short-term problem. But whereas if someone could teach me how to run an agency, like that'll give me one client, a referral will be great. But if someone, I think like you said, if I only get one question, it would be more like, like in 5 years, what is something that I should be doing now? What's maybe a habit that I should pick up? Like, should I be writing more LinkedIn posts? Should I be on YouTube more? Should I just really spend as much time getting better at my craft? Or should I hire a salesperson? Or should I hire a branding? Should I just build a really good branding team first? Like maybe some of those questions.
Hopefully someone in the comments will be able to answer them, Why did you decide to join on the call with me?
I just think there's so many founders similar to me that have amazing stories that just they never really get to share the story, right? And I thought I've got a pretty cool story that I'd like to share, and I'd like to obviously support your channel to help other people share their story as well. Like founders is it's not lonely, but it's like, it's not a popular path that many people do. So like as a founder, you might go through like 6 months and no one will really ever ask you, hey, what's happening? Like, what got you here? Like those questions, like, it's so good to just open up and be like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, where do I want to go? What are my biggest problems? Like, that's a very like founder to founder conversation.
Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I have.